In this part of the exercise, we will talk about data structures. And we will cover such data structures as ArrayLists, LinkedLists, and HashMaps. So let us start with ArrayList. First, let us create a class that is called ArrayList. Example. And here I will write our example to ArrayList. So what is ArrayList? As you have already heard from our lecture video, the main shortcoming of arrays is that their size cannot be changed during runtime. So when you are creating array, you must know how many elements your array will have. And sometimes it is not possible. And in this case, when you need some data structure that would be will allow you to change the size of this structure during the runtime, so to change the capacity, then you can use the array list. So array list, in order to use it, you need to import it first. Import the package, and you are importing Java util array list. So you see it here. So when you are importing this class, it means that in Java exists some package util, and this package util has some class ArrayList. What does it tell you? It tells you that in Java there exists already ArrayList class. It means that the class that you are creating should not have the same name. It should not. You should not name your class ArrayList, since then you would overwrite this ArrayList class that is already there. So this is just for your information. And let us create a main method. And what you need to know about ArrayList is that this class that is already pre-written in Java, it implements list interface. And since it implements list interface, you can also use the abstract methods that are in the list interface. So this array list, let us write it. ArrayList. Very important is to remember that it can be used to store objects only. You cannot store primitive data types inside of ArrayList. So this is very important. It can be used to store objects only. And that means that if you have some primitive data types that you would like to store inside of ArrayList, you would need to use auto-boxing that we have covered just a second ago. So a syntax is pretty straightforward. So you are writing the ArrayList keyword, ArrayList. Then you are using diamond operator, and inside of this diamond operator you are writing the wrapper class. In our case it will be integer. Then you have to write the name of this array list. In our case, it will be user h ArrayList. And we are now declaring it. It will be new ArrayList. And again, you are using diamond operators. So here, the left side here you are declaring the ArrayList variable. So again, first you're writing the keyword ArrayList. Inside of diamond operator, you are specifying which type of wrapper class would you like to use. And then comes the name of your ArrayList. In the right side, you are instantiating a new ArrayList. That's why you are using the keyword new, and you are using ArrayList with diamond operator. So now you have created and instantiated this ArrayList, and not forget to put empty braces afterwards. So now we want to populate our ArrayList. That is, we want to add some values to this ArrayList. For this purpose, we will use the method add of this ArrayList. So every method will start with dot and then the name of the method, and then always the braces will follow. So in order to access this method from ArrayList, from this object, since this object is instance of the class ArrayList, ArrayList has this method. So in order to access this method from a class, you are accessing this method via your object. So in this case, you are writing the name of your object, user h ArrayList, you are putting dot, and you're putting your method add. So you see already here Eclipse tells you that there are several options. First one, when you just want to put integer inside. Another option is that when you want to put integer on specific place, specific cell with specific index in your array, and some other options. So we will just use integer, and we want just to populate this array with some numbers. So let us do it, just put some random numbers. We'll just populate it with 5 numbers. Let us also maybe add, first let us print our array to the console, system out print line, and we will just put the name of this array in order to receive this array, to print it out to our console. So you see, this is that our array contains already those number that we have added here. And now let us use this another add method that allows you to put an element to a specific place in your array. So let us use our object, and here we want to use this method, so you can read some information about here. So just briefly, you have to put in braces here 2 numbers. The first number will be the index where your new element should be. So let us say we want to put this new element, that is 8 years old, into third, let's say second position. So we want to put it here instead of 21, or between 35 and 21, and that's why we will write the index 2. So let us also print our new array, and indeed we see that it worked out. Okay, so there are also some other pretty useful methods, so let's just use them and see how they are working. So another very useful method is the method that tells you the size of your array. And as usually, in order to access methods, we are using the name of object and then putting dot. And we want to find the size, it is here, and we leave the braces empty. And we want the size to be printed out to the console, that's why we will just enclose this, enter system out print line statement. And this is 6. So indeed, our array contains 6 elements. We can also remove some elements from array, and we can do this in several ways. So let us say that we want to remove, let us first get one element. So if when you're using the method get, you need to put the index of the element that you want to receive. So we would like to receive maybe 21 value, and this value has index 3, so we are putting here index 3, and we will also enclose this into system and our printing statement. And we have this element 21. So now we want to remove exactly this element, and in order to remove this, we will use the method that is called remove. And inside you have to put the index, and this is index 3. So afterwards we would like to print our array back again to the console. Okay, so after we have removed element number 3, that was 21, we have now the array that consists of 5 elements, and number 21 is not there anymore. When we want to change the value of some specific element in our array list, then we can use the method set. So let us say that we would like, so you see here the help from the Eclipse. First you have to put index, and then you have to put the element. So index, let us say that we want to remove write, let us take this element, to write 50 instead of 54. So this element has index 3, and we want to put another value there, and we want to print our array again. And you see it worked out. There are some other very nice methods. For example, we will write them inside of our print line statement. So another method is contains, and this is method that that tells you whether a specific element is inside of your array list. So let us say we want to check whether the element with value 12 is inside, and as answer you would receive a boolean value, so this will be true or false. And we see the answer, this is true, so the element with value 12 is indeed in our array list. The next method is index of, and this is a method that tells you the index of some specific element. So if we want to check the index of the value with number of element with value 12, then we receive it is number 4. The next is okay, the next is actually the last one, when you would like, if you want to clear your list, so you want to remove all the elements of your array list. In this way, in this case, you are just using the method clear, and we will, but you're using this without print statement since it is already a void method. And indeed, after you have applied clear method, your array list is empty now. Okay, so just short summary about array lists. When you want to use array list, usually it happens when you would like to have some data structure that can change the its capacity dynamically during the runtime. So if you would like to increase your array during runtime, then you would not use array, you would use ArrayList or maybe LinkedList. And if you are using ArrayList, then you always have to import it first. So, and you can do this in several ways. So first way is when you are importing in this way Java util ArrayList, or you can also import actually everything, all classes that are inside of util class, and this will be the statement for this case. In this case, you would also import LinkedList and Hashmap too, and also a lot of other classes too. And the last thing is, what is important to remember is that you can use a lot of very useful methods from ArrayList that just make your life easier. So the next data structure is linked list. For linked list, let us create, oh, I see that my classes were saved in default package. I will just put them here. No, cancel. Let me see whether I can just do it in this way. Exactly, we can just drag it here. Yeah, so now they are in a proper place. So next we are creating here new class with the name linked list. And please remember, linked list is also already pre-written class in Java util. So that's why you should not name your class linked list. Only you have to put something else. So similarly to to ArrayList, you have to import the linked list first. Java util linked list. And we will use our public static void main method from the beginning here. String and some arguments. Exactly. So linked list As we have already seen in lecture video, this is some kind of data structure that stores the addresses of elements before and after each element. So in order to use this linked list, we will just copy our everything that is now inside of our array list, and we'll work with this example. Okay, so you see that actually, I will shift it here. The linked list is very similar from syntax perspective to ArrayList. So actually, we can do everything that we have done here with our ArrayList. We can do this with linked list. So I will just now change everything here instead of ArrayList to linked list. So I'm actually, let me check whether we can use here find and replace array to linked. Great. So now we have done everything in one click. So now we have replaced everywhere where we had ArrayList, we have replaced it with linked list. So now this is completely similar program that we had with ArrayList, and we will now run this program, and you see here the same results. So, however, linked list has also some specific methods that are only in linked list and that you cannot use from ArrayList. So now we will explore those methods. Linked list specific methods. The first method is poll. Poll method returns the first element of the list and removes this element from the list. Returns the first element from the list and removes this element from the list. Let us first print out our linked list. I will comment those print line statements so that we don't have other unrelated results. So now you see that our linked list consists of these five elements. And now we are using the method poll, so we will also use the same print line statement and now poll. And you see here that you would need to put in, actually you don't have to put anything inside, because automatically it will take the first element. So afterwards we want to see how our linked list looks at the result of this poll operation. And you see that the first element that the poll method was applied to is 40, and after application of those methods you see that the the linked list does not have this value anymore. The next method that is also linked list specific is peak, and this method returns the first element of the list but does not remove it. And we will use the same structure and we'll put here peak. Oh, I have here typo. Peak. Exactly, so you see that we see here the first element, it is 35, and afterwards our linked list stays the same. Next method is getLast, and this returns the first element, the last element, sorry, the last element of the list, and does not remove it. So let us use this method here now, and instead of peak we are writing getLast. And you see that 12 is the last element, and we see this number again in our linked list. And you have one more method that shows you your first element. This method is getFirst. So this getFirst, actually it is the same method as peak. This method also returns the first element of the list and does not remove this element. However, one big advantage of this method is that if the list is empty, then it will throw you no such element exception. So let us first write it briefly, same as peak, but also gives no such element exception if the list is empty. Okay, so first let us make our list empty in order to see this exception in place. So for this purpose we are using clear method, and then we would like to use the method getFirst. And you see here linked list getFirst, no such element exception, and you see that this exception took place on the line 64. This is exactly our line. Okay, so as a short summary, you have you see that ArrayLists and linked lists, they are very similar in practice. However, linked list has some linked list specific methods. These are of course not the only differences. What you need to understand, you need to clearly understand the differences between ArrayList and LinkedList example and when to use both of them. All those differences are very good covered in our lecture videos, so I will not repeat them. So please make sure that you know when to use ArrayList and when to use linked list. So the next, our data structure is Hashmap. And now we will create a class with name Hashmap Example. So Hashmap implements map interface. Map interface in turn provides some simple data structure that has some specific association, and this association tells you that you can save a key and a corresponding value to this key. So in Hashmaps, correspondingly, you have this relation key value, always for each unique key. There will be some specific value associated with this unique key. When you are using Hashmap, you also have to import the class before you are using it. So let us import Java util, and let us now use the second option of import when we are just importing everything from our Java util. So in order to create a Hashmap, you need to do the following. So we will now we will first create a Hashmap, and then afterwards we will use it. So we will create Hashmap outside of the main class. So we are using static word, and when you want to create a Hashmap, you're putting first the word Hashmap, and then in diamond operator inside you need to specify two wrapper classes, like two data type objects. In our case, we will have a Hashmap with string as a key and string as a value. So in first place you would write in this case string, and second case string 2. If you would have, for example, key as a string and value as integer, let us say age, we're creating a Hashmap for a specific person, and we have a key age and key name. So the key age would have value, let's not make such complex. Let us just say age, and age is a key, so this will be of data type string, and value would be integer in this case, because you would put number as age. In our case, we will put string and string here, and now you're putting here the name of your Hashmap. We will just name it map, and now we are instantiating this Hashmap with keyword new Hashmap, and again using our string in diamond operators, and don't forget the braces. And now our public static void main method with string arguments. And what we want to do, we want to fill now our Hashmap with some values. So we want to populate the Hashmap. In this case, you will use the method put from the object map, that is instance of a class Hashmap. Map dot put, and not compute but put. Again, here you see this method here, put string key, string value. So if you would have written here at the beginning string and integer, then you would see here string key, integer value. Now we have both strings, so this is kind of help to you when you are when you want to populate your hash map, what kind of data type should you use during the population. So we will choose this one, and key will be mon, and value will be Monday. So now I will populate our hash map. And corresponding days as value. And the last one, Sunday. Okay, so what you would like to do next? Next, we would like to print out the values of our hash map to the console. So when you would like to access all the values from your hash map, in hash map case you cannot use loop. You have to use while loop, and you cannot use for loop. You have to use while loop and together with iterator. So we want to loop over items in the map, and first we are creating iterator that will be also string with the name iter, and for this we are using the method keySet, and the next method is iterator. And now we are using this iterator in our while loop. So while iterator's method has next, we want that key of our hash map string, enter next, and as the result we want to print this element to the console. System out print line, and we want to print the key and the corresponding value of that key, and for this purpose we are using get method for the specific key. And this is how we do this. So not has next, but just next here. Okay, so this construction, this syntax allows you to iterate over every key from your hash map and to access the element that corresponds to every key. And while your iterator has next element, this loop will be running. As soon as the iterator reaches the last element and there is no element afterwards, it will stop running and the program will go to the next statement. So let us print this, let us run this program, and we see, let's do it in this way again. So you see that our elements are now printed out. Okay, so now what we want to do, we want to have a look on some useful methods that you can use from our that are available in our Hashmap class. Useful methods that will follow now. So first, what is very practical for practice is that maybe you would like to check whether some specific key is in your Hashmap. In this case, you would use the method contains key, and inside of braces you would write the key name. So as an example, let us use also print line statement so that we can see the result immediately in the console. We are using our object to access the method from the class, and this is here contains key. You see already there is also contains value that we will use next. Now we are using contains key, and for example, we would like to check whether the Monday key is there, and this is true. Indeed, it is there. Then next that we have already seen is the same. However, I would like to check not the key but the value, so I will do this again here. Contains, and I will choose now here the second method that is contains value. And now we, for example, Friday, we want, let us say we want to check whether the weekday is there, and this is of course not the case. Next, our practical example is very practical method is when you want to check whether the hash map is empty, and for this case you are just using isEmpty method, and as the result you will receive Boolean value, true or false. And sometimes you would like to clear your map, that is just to delete all the elements that are inside of your map, and this you will do with clear method, and just to, of course, we will print out the whole hash map at the end. So maybe I will first print the hash map before. Okay, so here you see how it looks. Every key has its value, and this is when we just print our hash map to the console. This is how the result looks like. And after our clear method, we have deleted all the methods from the hash map. So this is all for this part. We have covered ArrayLists, LinkedLists, and HashMaps. So for you, for your understanding and for the exam, you have to understand in which cases you should you prefer which of those data structures.